grateful. Welcome to May. We're celebrating May Day today, and May Day promotes unity, togetherness, and rebirth, the return of spring, and it recognizes also International Workers' Day. I remember from elementary school, and I don't know why I flashed back all the way to elementary school. I was preparing for this, but I remember back in elementary school where we would do the flagpole around the maypole. The maypole, that's what it is. Yeah, those are some fun days. So we are embracing our new theme for the month of May, which is emotions. And this is under our general umbrella for the year of living everyday creativity. So we're looking at today how emotions interact with our spice rack. And I'll give you a little bit of an overview for the month. We're going to dive into 4 of the key emotions: fear, happiness, anger, and sadness, along with the other emotions that cluster around each one of these categories. And as we lean into learning about our emotions for a greater understanding of how critical they are to our growth and development and well-being, we will learn that rather than fleeing from those difficult emotions, that if we seek to face them with curiosity and wonder, that we will find the blessing in each one of them. And from a Science of Mind perspective, I share this quote from the Good Therapy blog. And it says, "Emotions by themselves are neither good or bad. They are simply reactions. However, the way we act or do not act to our emotions can strongly affect our well-being." Our emotions are like a spice rack. We can find a spice to fit the focus of that emotion for the moment. Our emotions provide us with a beneficial lesson. And as we strive to balance in our emotional spectrum, we achieve balance in other areas of our lives. So these two work together hand in hand. They are not mutually exclusive. Our emotions can provide lots of great information and are amazing resources that help us to learn about ourselves. Our feelings and emotions serve as a gentle processing center for areas of reflection, exploration, and growth. And there are many of them to choose from our emotional continuum. And so as we explore our emotions and feelings, we focus on the mental equivalent to gain a different perspective. We avoid praying it away through spiritual bypass because it might return unfulfilled, unduly processed if we try and pray it away using spiritual bypass. Instead, we apply our spiritual practices to work through it, to breathe through it, and to find a way to face those scary moments that may not be so scary after all. We may even realize a misconception or a false narrative trying to appear as real. Our emotions require balance so that we do not spiral downward into a dark abyss or become so saturated in bliss that it does not include the reality of the human experience. So again, it's a blending together of those spices that we have in our spiritual spice chest. Dr. Holmes writes this in our Science of Mind textbook. In the well-balanced person, emotion is controlled by the intellect. But in many people, there is conflict between the emotion and the intellect. Emotion uncontrolled produces chaos. Emotion uncontrolled produces chaos. And so today I want to focus on 3 areas related to emotions. The first one is running from our emotions. The second one is welcoming our emotions. And the third one is creating balance and harmony in our emotions. And all of these interact together as we play out this role on this life journey. And so running from our emotions. During childhood, many of us were taught to shut down our emotions and to therefore run or hide away from them. Men especially have been taught not to cry or express emotions outwardly. And this results in a shutdown of an important human feeling center, not only in men, but in all of us. When we deny those emotions, when we deny the free expression of those emotions, they shut down an important human feeling center. Our beloved society has labeled certain emotions as bad, while others are good. And this causes us to berate ourselves when we experience certain normal emotions that occur even when we overly bask in certain emotions to the exclusion of others. When we favor one emotion over another or exclude one emotion in favor of another, this is what creates those hidden beliefs. We talk a lot in this teaching about hidden beliefs. Hidden beliefs are developed when we suppress our emotions, and this affects the outcome of our experience. These hidden beliefs can often sabotage our heart's desires. And so facing our emotions and looking underneath, getting underneath or taking the cover off of them, we learn how to find those hidden beliefs and where they originated. Embracing emotions, we uncover our hurts, our pains. We apply forgiveness, compassion, and love to help heal them. I was watching a TED Talk recently featuring Valerie Carr, and she was giving a talk on her project, Revolutionary Love. And she shares the story of her journey to forgiveness after her brother was murdered following the 9/11 attacks. Being Sikh, they're often confused as Muslims. And her brother, wearing a turban and a long beard, was killed in Arizona as retaliation for the 9/11 attacks. What was so interesting and beautiful about this story was that it took her 15 years to work on her own self, 15 years of inner work in order to reach out and contact the person that had murdered her brother and to offer forgiveness. And in the little bit of the interview with the individual that was in prison for the murder, it was interesting how he had gone through his own transformation process. And what he offered to Valerie and another brother, I think it was either a brother or an uncle that was conducting the interview with him. What he said was when he got to heaven, that before going in, what he wanted to do was to connect with her brother, to reach out and embrace him, and to ask for forgiveness for the act of violence that he had committed. Valerie Carr states that forgiveness is freedom from hate. Forgiveness requires me to tend to my own rage and to tend to my grief first. Loving my opponent requires me to recognize that the one I identify as an opponent is that part of me that I do not know yet. And this is our encounter on this daily walk. As we connect with and as we interact with people who appear to be different from us based on whatever that difference may look like. If we could pause for just a moment, and say, this is a part of me that I don't know yet. Let's go on this journey together, an exploration, and find out how we are more alike than we are different. Our healing work is necessary to process our emotions because it allows us to recognize what we can no longer ignore, run, or hide away from. We move into welcoming into our experience with open arms and open hearts. And this leads into our second point this morning, which is welcoming emotions. We live a rushed existence. We're told to act our age, to be mature, to go to college, get a job. I see a connection with that. Act your age. I'm often told, act my age. Well, when I decide what my age is, then I'll act that age. Somehow, in the midst of all of these things that we're told to do rather than to be, we have to weed into our lives for ourselves and identify what really matters to us. It may seem insignificant, but if it matters to you, let it matter. If it matters to you, let it matter. Welcoming those painful emotions means looking directly in the face of them and seeing what they have to say. Now, this is not easy. Being with this process requires humility, courage, strength, and compassion, because it could be a very tough exercise. This is why our spiritual practice is essential, because it provides with us an important processing tool for facing these difficult and challenging emotions. Using spiritual mind treatment, our affirmative prayer, a mantra, journaling, meditating, working with a practitioner or a prayer partner are ways that welcome our emotions, and we learn through tenderness, pain, and even bliss. You know, the cycle of tenderness and pain and bliss is a continuing cycle that works together for the good. Developing intuitive listening can serve as a guide for exploring areas in the emotional spectrum. Our inner guide, when we pause and spend that time in the silence, when we spend that time in spiritual practice, when we spend that time in nature, wherever it is that we find that we can release distractions, external distractions, we have the opportunity then to listen to our inner guide, which knows where the treasures are and can serve as the useful compass to assess those areas where we probe and find that inner resistance. And it's in finding that inner resistance that we can welcome these emotions, and then we can move into creating balance and harmony, which is our third point. Eric Butterworth in Spiritual Economics writes, "Nothing else can satisfy or fulfill unless you enjoy the freedom that comes from control of your inner world of mind and emotions." Again, the inner work that we're required to do, that we're invited to do, to work through these things. We usually experience a variety of emotions simultaneously, since there are so many emotions that are in our emotional spice rack. And I came across a story that I had heard some time ago, and I found that it might apply here, just might apply here today. During a sermon, a pastor was preaching about Jesus' teaching on loving and loving our enemies. And in the process, the pastor asked the congregation to raise their hands if they had any enemies. And everyone did so except for one little lady, Mrs. Watson, who had just turned 95 and was sitting on the very front row. And the pastor observed that Mrs. Watson had not raised her hand, and so the question was asked, "Mrs. Watson, how could you possibly live for 95 years and have no enemies?" And being very spry and very quick of wit, Mrs. Watson responded, "It's very simple. I outlived them all." I submit to you that Mrs. Watson knew the proper mix of spices to be able to share this testimony. When there is balance in our emotional spectrum, all is usually well. It is when our emotions are skewed to either extreme that creates disharmony and imbalance in our lives. And here are a couple of examples. Too much joy and bliss can cause overexcitement, anxiety, or too much stimulation. Too much of a good thing, as the expression goes, can cause overexcitement, anxiety, or too much stimulation. Too much sadness, on the other hand, can cause depression and an onslaught of other negative or depressing emotions that take us down the emotional spectrum, down into that proverbial rabbit hole. Too much of either could cause insecurities, isolation, unworthiness, or doubt. We are constantly working through our emotional processing center based on what's going in our lives and what's going on in the world around us. Given the extreme local, national, and global events and circumstances that have occurred over the past couple of years, many of us have been hyper-driven emotionally. One of my spiritual teachers refers to it as those weapons of mass distraction. And we've certainly been bombarded with those and continually are being bombarded with those if we allow them to enter into our space. And what we offer in this teaching is that we not ignore what's going on in the world of effect, because we must be informed about what is going on around us. It is the oversaturation of 24 hours of CNN or MSNBC or Fox News or whatever media there is that one watches. It's that overdose. So again, it's about learning to live everything in balance. Living in balance requires that we be gentle with ourselves, that we take our time, and that we apply our spiritual practices to support us to go even deeper in the exploration and unpacking of our learning process. Our journey may uncover additional work to be done, or more support that is required for excavation of those things, those hidden beliefs that we no longer choose to have in our life. And so our call to action today is, as I shared at the beginning, being human, emotions are a default within our central response center. Like anything in life, constant practice is required to maintain emotional health and balance in our lives. Staying aware of our thoughts, our moods, and our disposition is a healthy practice. Creating balance in our activities helps our emotional center stay balanced. And what we've talked about and what we've explored this morning is all about our job. It's the work that we are required to do for ourselves. It's not what we're invited to do for someone else, because it is up to that individual or those individuals to choose to do their own evaluation and identify those parts of their own lives that may be out of balance, that may be in disharmony with the world that is around them. And so the personal practical application that we offer, and I've asked our tech team to put this in the chat for our Zoom family, and it will be on our Facebook Live page in the comments section. And we have it on our screen here. So what we're offering this week is a mindful meditation technique to explore an emotion that is up for you right now. And the suggestion is to simply watch your thoughts go by as if they were on a video screen, and there is a gentle focus on a particular emotion that comes up. I just allow your thoughts to identify an emotion that comes up. Watch what comes up without attachment. This is the challenge, to watch it without attachment. Refocus on just watching your thoughts if you get distracted or become attached. And then journal for a few minutes to see what emerges out of that journaling. And then repeat this meditation 3 to 5 times during the week, or as often as is comfortable for you. And so this leads us into our affirmation for the week. And I'm going to invite us to say this together. I am blessed and grateful for my emotions and feelings. And let us now turn together in prayer as we go to that still space within, recognizing the all-prevailing presence of Spirit, recognizing that the one life, the one power that is in and through all things is that power which is operating in my life, and that power which is operating in the lives of each one that is gathered in this physical space and also in our virtual community. And knowing that this power is non-local, it is not limited by any human idea of constraints. It is that all-prevailing presence. And each one is a living and moving and being of this all-prevailing presence. And so I speak my word now for the opportunity to evaluate what is in my emotional spice rack, what it is that I choose to put into the mix of this thing called life, that which adds a bit of bitterness, that which adds a bit of sweetness, that which combined with does not conflict with and yet complements, bringing about a beautiful and delicious and a glorious life to live. Recognizing that living life in balance requires that I include that which I identify as negative, that which I identify as displeasing, and also that which I identify as joyful, as pleasurable, as exciting, that brings meaning to my life. Knowing that in this yin and yang of living, everything, absolutely everything is unfolding in divine harmony. And so as I step back from the attachment to the event or the activity itself. I step back and step away from an attachment to the outcome. I can release that knowing that everything, absolutely everything, is unfolding in divine, right, and perfect order. And the good news is that it is not required for me to see or to understand or even to know what the divine order will look like. What is important is that I accept that divine order is operating in my life. And what is true for me is true for all. So I know that as I accept and affirm divine order, as I accept and affirm harmony and balance in my life, this is the truth for all people in all places. And so with joy this day, I bless people that are gathering in communities, however those communities are formed, recognizing the power and the presence of the living one by whatever it is identified in those communities, knowing that this is the strength, this is the source, this is the sustenance that moves these communities into their vibrant expression of life. I speak a word of blessing this morning for those who are moving through the transitions of life, those transitions that are identified as illness, knowing that well-being is the order of life. Those transitions that may be identified as the physical absence of someone who has stepped off of this plane of existence and moved into their next greater yet to be. Recognizing that they live on in our memories. Each time we think of them, each time we speak of them, each time we acknowledge the gift of their presence that was brought into our lives. Those transitions that may appear as right livelihood in terms of economic and financial prosperity, right livelihood in the area of divine and perfect housing, those who choose to live inside and those who choose to live outside, knowing that there's a harmony and a balance in those choices. Recognizing that all things, absolutely all things, are working together for the good of all. And so it is in this good, in this awareness of the good, that I give thanks for this joyous life, that I give thanks for this beautiful day. A songwriter, I think it is Karen Drucker, that says, "Thank you, God, for this beautiful day. Thank you, Spirit, for this beautiful day." And each day is a beautiful day because we are allowed to live in this life experience. There's someone that I follow on social media that posts daily, "I am grateful that I woke up this morning. I am grateful that I woke up this morning." And this too is my mantra. I am grateful that I woke up this morning, that I have another opportunity to live this expansive and marvelous life, knowing that this is just a stopping point along the journey of eternal life. And so enjoy the process, live the process, be the process, because it is all part of the journey and unfoldment of the divine in our lives. And so in deep, deep gratitude for this and so much more, I release this word now back into the law, which always says yes. Allowing it to be so, I know that it is done. I know it is complete. And I invite you, if anything that I have said resonates, to affirm it with me as we say, and so it is. Thank you for especially our virtual community that consistently joins us and is a part of our larger family. And I was sharing before the service began with one of our congregants that I received an office and telephone message, actually a phone call in the office this week while I was in the office, from someone who was wanting to know how to connect, someone on the East Coast was wanting to know how to connect with our service. And so I was able to share with them our website and the links that are available to join us. So I invite you to share this message, to share this time with your loved ones and your friends if you are finding value in it. And let's just spread the word of the good news that God is and that all is well in life. And now it is our opportunity to participate in the flow of abundance, in the flow of circulation. For those of you who are gathered here in our sanctuary, we have a giving, our donation box on our hospitality table. For those of you who are joining us virtually, we will post on our screen in a few moments the ways that you may contribute to our center. And let us say together now our affirmation of abundance. I recognize the presence of God within as a source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows anything that I could desire. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And the ways to contribute to the center are on your screen. You may contribute through mailing to our physical location here in Monterey. You may donate online through our secure website. You may also text to give. And for those of you who use PayPal, you may also contribute to the center through PayPal. And so we invite you in our virtual community to join us next week, where we're continuing with our May theme of emotions, and our topic will be the fear factor. Using our emotions to move through, to identify, first of all, identify, and then to move through the fear factor. And so we say to our virtual community, we love you, we appreciate you, and we thank God for you.